The sound of glass shattering against the wall made Marcus freeze in the doorway. "I can't take it anymore!" Katherine shouted, her normally composed face now streaked with tears, hands trembling as she pointed at him. "Either commit fully to this job, or don't come back tomorrow." The ultimatum hung in the air between them, his career or his children. For Marcus Wright, a single father of two who had already lost so much, this moment would change everything. If you're finding yourself drawn into Marcus's impossible choice already, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We bring stories of real human struggle, triumph, and everything in between straight to your screen. Your support allows us to continue sharing these powerful narratives that remind us we're never alone in our challenges. Marcus Wright never imagined he'd be raising 8-year-old Emma and 6-year-old Liam alone in their small 2-bedroom apartment. But after his wife Sarah's sudden death 3 years ago, from an undiagnosed heart condition, he had been thrust into the role of both mother and father. Every day was a delicate balancing act, making breakfast, packing lunches, dropping the kids at school, then racing to his job as senior marketing strategist at Pinnacle Advertising Agency, only to reverse the entire routine each evening. Katherine Jensen had built Pinnacle from nothing. At 45, she commanded respect in an industry dominated by men. Her sleek corner office featured not family photos, but awards and achievements that chronicled her rise to success. The agency was her child, her legacy. She had hired Marcus 5 years ago, impressed by his creative vision and work ethic. He had quickly become her most valuable team member, her right hand. But that was before Sarah died. Before Marcus started coming in late and leaving early, before projects started slipping through the cracks. The morning that would lead to Katherine's breaking point began like many others for Marcus. Emma had woken with a fever, but with an important client meeting scheduled, Marcus couldn't stay home. He'd called Mrs. Patel next door, who agreed to check in during the day. He dropped Liam at school and arrived at the office 20 minutes late, sliding into the conference room with whispered apologies as Katherine presented to Luxon Hotels, their biggest potential client of the year. As I was saying, Katherine continued smoothly, though Marcus caught the flash of irritation in her eyes. "Oh, our strategy will increase your booking rates by at least 20% in the first quarter alone." The presentation continued, Marcus adding his insights when prompted, the clients nodding with increasing interest. Then his phone rang, Mrs. Patel's number. He silenced it quickly, but it immediately rang again. And again. His heart raced as he excused himself and stepped outside. "Emma's fever is 104, Mrs. Patel said, her voice tight with concern. "She's asking for you, and I think she needs to see a doctor." Marcus returned to the conference room, his face pale. "I'm sorry, I have a family emergency," he said, already gathering his things. Katherine's smile remained fixed, but her eyes hardened. Marcus is being modest about his contributions to this campaign, she said to the clients. Perhaps he could briefly outline the social media strategy before he goes. It wasn't a request. Marcus hesitated, torn between his daughter's needs and his boss's clear command. He quickly outlined the strategy, speaking faster than usual, watching the minutes tick by. When he finally escaped, Katherine's glare followed him out the door. At the pediatrician's office, Emma leaned against him, her small body radiating heat. "It'll be okay, sweetheart," he whispered, though in truth, nothing felt okay. His phone buzzed constantly with messages from Katherine and the office. The doctor diagnosed strep throat, prescribed antibiotics, and recommended Emma stay home for at least 3 days. Marcus's stomach sank. The Luxon campaign deadline was in 2 days. That night, after both children were finally asleep, Marcus worked until 3 a.m. on the Luxon materials. He emailed everything to Katherine with apologies and explanations, then collapsed into bed for a few hours, before starting the next day's juggling act. But Katherine was done with explanations. When Marcus arrived at the office after dropping Liam at school and settling Emma with Mrs. Patel again, Katherine called him into her office and closed the door. "Your work on Luxon was subpar," she said without preamble. There were inconsistencies in the messaging, the graphics weren't finalized, and the budget projections were incomplete. "I can fix it today," Marcus promised. "I just needed." "What you need," Katherine cut him off, "is to decide whether you want this job. Because I need someone I can count on. The Marcus I hired wouldn't have submitted work like this." "The Marcus you hired wasn't raising 2 children alone," he replied, immediately regretting his tone. Katherine's expression didn't soften. "I sympathize with your situation, but this is business. People depend on me, 30 employees, their families. If we lose Luxon because you can't focus, that affects everyone." "I understand that, but—" "No buts," she said. "I've been patient. For 3 years, I've accommodated your schedule, accepted your excuses, reassigned your tasks to others when you had to leave suddenly. Do you know what that's done to office morale? To my credibility as a leader?" Marcus hadn't considered that. He'd been so consumed by his own struggles that he hadn't seen the ripple effects of his divided attention. "I need you here, present, committed," Katherine continued. "We have the Luxon presentation tomorrow. After that, I need a decision. Either commit fully to this position or find another job that accommodates your situation better." Marcus left her office in a daze. Commit fully to the job. What did that even mean? He was already running on fumes, surviving on 5 hours of sleep most nights. The only way to give more to Pinnacle would be to give less to Emma and Liam. An impossible choice. That evening, as he made dinner for the kids, simple pasta, because he didn't have energy for more, his phone rang. It was Katherine. "The Luxon meeting has been moved up. They want to see us at 8 a.m. tomorrow." Marcus's heart sank. "That's when I drop the kids at school." "Find another solution," Katherine said shortly. "This is non-negotiable." After hanging up, Marcus called everyone he could think of. His parents, who lived 3 hours away, Sarah's sister in California, friends who had their own morning routines. But no one could help on such short notice. Emma looked up from her homework at the kitchen table. Despite being sick, she'd insisted on keeping up with her assignments. "Is everything okay, Dad?" Marcus forced a smile. "Just work stuff, sweetheart. Don't worry." But that night, after the kids were asleep, Marcus sat at his kitchen table and let the tears come. Sarah would have known what to do. Sarah would have held him and helped him find a way forward. But Sarah was gone, and he was alone with an impossible choice. The next morning, Marcus made a decision. He woke the kids early, explained they were going on a field trip to see where Daddy worked, and drove them to Pinnacle. He settled them in an empty conference room with tablets, snacks, and strict instructions to stay quiet and only interrupt if it was an emergency. Then he joined Katherine and the Luxon executives. Pretending everything was normal, the presentation went smoothly until the door creaked open and Liam's small face appeared. "Dade," he whispered loudly. Emma threw up. The room fell silent. Katherine's face went rigid. The Luxon CEO raised his eyebrows. "I'm sorry," Marcus said, standing. "My children are here because I couldn't find childcare this morning. My daughter is sick, and I need to check on her." He expected anger from Katherine, but instead saw something shift in her expression as he left the room. When he returned after cleaning up Emma and settling both children again, Katherine had smoothly continued the presentation. Remarkably, the Luxon executives seemed impressed rather than put off. "Family-friendly workplace policies are part of our brand values," the CEO commented. "It's refreshing to see it in action with your team, Ms. Jensen." When the clients left, promising to sign the contract by week's end, Marcus braced himself for Katherine's fury. Instead, she stood in the doorway of the conference room where Emma and Liam were quietly coloring. "These are your children," she said simply. "Yes. I'm sorry about the meeting." Katherine was quiet for a long moment, watching Emma help Liam with his drawing. "They're very well behaved. They try to be," Marcus said. "They know how important my job is." "And do they know how important they are?" Katherine asked, her voice oddly vulnerable. The question caught Marcus off guard. "Of course. They're everything to me." Katherine nodded slowly. "I should fire you for bringing children to a client meeting," she said, but there was no heat in her words. "Instead, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone at this company." She closed the door, leaving the children inside, and led Marcus to a quiet corner of the hallway. "I had a child once," she said, her voice so low Marcus had to lean in to hear. "A daughter. She died when she was 4, leukemia. My marriage didn't survive it. I threw myself into building this company instead of processing my grief." Marcus stared at her, speechless. "When you started missing deadlines and arriving late after Sarah died, it angered me. I couldn't understand why you couldn't compartmentalize your grief like I had. But watching you today, putting your children first even at the risk of your job," she paused, "I realized I've been wrong. What I did wasn't strength, it was avoidance." Marcus saw Katherine, really saw her, for the first time, not as his demanding boss, but as someone who had faced her own impossible choices and made different decisions than he would. "I can't take it anymore," she said, echoing her earlier words, but with a completely different meaning. "I can't keep pretending this company is the only thing that matters. I can't keep punishing you for being the parent I wasn't brave enough to be." The following weeks brought changes neither Marcus nor Katherine could have predicted. Katherine created a small childcare room at Pinnacle, hiring a part-time caregiver for employees' children during emergencies. She adjusted Marcus's schedule to allow him to drop off and pick up his children, making up hours in the evening when needed. Most surprisingly, she began joining Marcus and his children for dinner once a week, gradually forming a bond with Emma and Liam that filled a void in all their lives. 6 months later, Pinnacle won Agency of the Year, with the judges specifically citing their innovative work-life balance policies as a model for the industry. In her acceptance speech, Katherine thanked Marcus for showing me that our greatest strength comes not from what we achieve alone, but from how we support each other. For Marcus, the award meant less than the smaller victories. Being present for Emma's school play, teaching Liam to ride a bike, having the energy to truly listen when his children shared their days. He still missed Sarah every day, but the crushing weight of trying to be everything to everyone had lifted. One evening, as Katherine helped Emma with her science project while Marcus and Liam prepared dinner, she looked around the small apartment filled with laughter and said, "I never thought I'd find family again." "Neither did I," Marcus admitted. "At least, not an extended one." The choice that had once seemed impossible, career or family, had transformed into something different entirely. Not an either-or, but a both-and. Not a sacrifice, but an integration. Not alone, but together. If our story of Marcus, Katherine, Emma, and Liam has touched your heart today, remember that behind every person we meet lies a story we don't fully know. Sometimes the people who demand the most from us are carrying the heaviest burdens themselves. And sometimes, when we're brave enough to be vulnerable, to show our whole selves, our responsibilities, our struggles, our love, we create space for others to do the same. Life will always present us with difficult choices, moments when we feel we can't take anymore. But as Marcus and Katherine discovered, these breaking points can become breakthrough points when we find the courage to choose authenticity, compassion, and connection. The greatest choice we can make is to see each other not just as workers, bosses, or roles to fill, but as humans with hearts that break, heal, and grow. In that recognition lies our shared strength and the possibility of something beautiful none of us could create alone. As Marcus tucked his children into bed that night, Emma asked, "Dad, is Katherine sad because she doesn't have a little girl anymore?" "Sometimes," Marcus answered honestly, "but I think she's also happy because she found us." Emma considered this. "Then we're kind of like her second chance, right?" Marcus smiled. "I think we're all each other's second chance." And in that moment, he knew that sometimes being forced to choose doesn't mean losing something. It means finding something you never knew you needed.